it's Rebecca Douglas, Reflections from the Saddle. Warm hello to you. We are talking about some frequently asked questions and concerns of people who are training horses in today's world. And one person writes in and says, my trainer disagrees with hand feeding treats. How do I train with her but still use positive reinforcement in my training? So there's a couple things. You don't want to fight and argue with your trainer about using reward-based training, about using food, or even any of the dynamics of positive reinforcement. Now, you can point her to some of the scientific articles, some of the books being written, and all of that that talks about the reason why we use rewards and why we use positive reinforcement in training. But you also can use hand-fed treats when you're training on your own, but not when you're with her. And here's a perfect example. Giving a horse a good boy and a pat on the neck, or a good girl and a pat on the neck, is not inherently rewarding. It's not something that the horse thinks, oh yeah, that means something to me, all right? It's something that they have to learn that means something. But if your horse does something good and you stop what you're asking them to do, and you pat them on the neck and you say, good boy, and then you give them a food reward, you are in essence pairing the pat and the good boy with the food reward. If you do that enough, that when you're with your trainer at the times that you're training with her, say you take a lesson once a week, or you take a lesson 2 or 3 times a week, if you just use the pat and the good boy, they will remember that as positive, and it will be a way of reinforcing that. Now, if you only use that and you never pair it with the food rewards, it's not going to have that same effect. But that's a way to pair it when you're by yourself, so that when you're with your trainer, you're not arguing with them about whether you should be using hand-fed treats. Now, in another discussion, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of using hand-fed treats with horses that are pushy or that nip, and that's a separate discussion, so stay tuned for that. But I think it's important to remember that there's also other ways of rewarding your horse. And a very simple way that's very often overlooked is the free walk on long rein, and also the cessation of doing anything. So just stop. You know, if I have a major breakthrough in a training session, even if it's 5 minutes in the training session, and I mean it's a breakthrough, meaning we've been working on this and the horse hasn't quite done it to the expectations of which I would like him to, and all of a sudden he offers it, that's a stop what we're doing, get off the horse, go back to the barn, the day is done. Because that is another type of reward that they can then see, oh, wow, like I did this and she stopped everything. Now, if every time they do it, you stop, then they learn to do that to get you to stop, right? So you can't pair it up that often. But there is times, especially if you're upping the criteria. I did this a lot when I was teaching my horse flying changes. So he was kind of getting the idea, and there would be, say, where he'd give me one really beautiful, when he was first learning them, one really beautiful, clean flying change. That was it. Time out. We're done for the day. That's what I wanted from him. And horses do learn that way also. So keep those 2 things in mind, and don't fight with your trainer about it. Just try and encourage her to learn more about it herself.